Welcome to another Wednesday student devotional. Today I want to talk to you about forgiveness, and so the devotional is called An Impossible Thing Called Forgiveness. Now, forgiveness is great. Jesus tells us to forgive. We talk about forgiveness at church. We talk about it in Fusion in our small groups. And forgiveness is wonderful until you actually have to forgive someone, and then it is one of the hardest things to do. And sometimes the people that we know best in life, the people that we're closest to, and the people we're around the most are the hardest to forgive. But let's look at forgiveness through this incredible story found in 2 Kings 5, 1 through 3. So in verse 1, this is what we read. Now Naaman was commander of the army of the king of Aram. He was a great man in the sight of his master and highly regarded, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. So we meet this guy named Naaman, who would probably be forgotten if it wasn't for this story. And he was the commander of an army. He was very impressive. God had used him to give victory to this nation. He wasn't Jewish. He wasn't an Israelite, but God had still given him some military ability. But the one thing we learn about Naaman is he had leprosy, and leprosy is a disease where your body parts just fall off and they decay and they die. And eventually, in Naaman's day, it would kill you. It was a very disgusting disease. But in verse 2 is really where this gets interesting and where we start to learn something about forgiveness. Now, bands of raiders from Aram had gone out and had taken captive a young girl from Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master would see the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." Now, this is so amazing, and I'm just going to say the rest of the story is awesome, and you should totally read it, but I'm not going to do that today. You're going to have to read that on your own. But what I want to focus on is verses 2 and 3, because in verse 2, we meet a young girl from Israel. This young girl who one day she was living in Israel. She was probably living with her family, enjoying life, and then one day a group of raiders came in, and they took her away, and they probably killed her parents and killed her siblings and burned her house and burned her village. And they said, now you're going to be a slave and you're going to serve Naaman's wife. Imagine that you were that young servant girl. What would you think? I would be devastated, and I would hate Naaman and his family probably. But what's her attitude? Does she have hate in her heart? No, she says to her master, Naaman's wife, there's a way for Naaman to be cured of his leprosy. There's a way for him to be cleansed and to be cured if he only is to go and talk to God's prophet. Again, you're going to have to read the rest of the story to see what happened. But notice the heart of this young girl. She could have held on to bitterness, and we probably all would have said, I completely understand. Because of what he did to your family, you deserve to withhold this opportunity of healing from him. But she had forgiveness in her heart. And even though he had done something so devastating to her and so traumatic and so awful to her, she decided to extend forgiveness. And here's what we learn. Knowing God makes forgiveness possible. The reason that girl was able to forgive someone for such an awful evil is that she knew God. And knowing God means that we understand who we are. We understand that we're sinners and that we need to be saved from our sin, that we need to have forgiveness. And once you understand how much God forgives you and how much God loves you, then you can extend forgiveness to other people. So I want to encourage you today, take a few moments to think about this servant girl. Think about her life. Think about what would have led her to have this attitude to extend forgiveness to someone that would have done something so horrible to her family. And then take a few moments, pause to pray. Who do you need to forgive? Maybe it's someone close to you, a sibling, a parent, a close friend, and then talk to God about it. And then, I forgot to write this down, but go and forgive that person. Talk to them about it. Have a great day. See you tonight.